G'day GBA fans, my name is Bill and I'm joined with my lovely co-host again.
G'day jabronis, it's TheVerd here.
And we are back for week 3 of Pivotal Moments. Or is week 4?
I believe it's week 4
I
of Pivotal
am
Moments.
going a little bit crazy over here, but we have week 4 of Pivotal Moments. So without any further ado, I think we'll hop right into it with the San Francisco 49ers versus the Free State Torricats. And I think Duncan has a bit of a vendetta against the analysts, because in the draft recap, they mentioned that the team sort of relies on Mandibuzz, and Duncan sort of stuck it to them, and he has not brung Mandibuzz so far, and I think this game, he definitely could have aided from it with the defog support, as well as it being a fairly good defensive check to things like Garchomp, and even potentially Mew with the set that George was running. So I think it was sort of detrimental and potentially pivotal that he didn't bring Mandibuzz specifically to this game.
Yeah, the big thing that really sucked for Duncan about not bringing Mandibuzz was the fact that this Drapion set could have been shut down so much quicker if he did have it, because Toxic Spikes were the bane of Duncan's existence. With no way to get rid of them and no way to stop Drapion, he was able to set up Toxic Spikes and get 3 kills with it, and then also was able to taunt late game to prevent a potential reverse sweep. So those were 2 really big plays, and the Drapion was just a massive factor in the San Francisco 49ers win.
In the next game, we have the Detroit Steel Wings versus the Milwaukee Swordsbucks. This game, one thing we want to mention is Steve, or Battler X. He's sort of doing the same thing he did last week, where he's putting all his eggs into one basket, having one win con. Last week it was the Trick Room. This week he heavily relied on that Z Electric Terrain circuitry. He thought it in the middle of the game, at the start of the game, and at the end of the game. That was his win con, and since he was not able to set it up, he was not able to properly beat through Crimson's team.
Yeah, I think maybe like a subset could have been better, because it could have baited in the Krook and then fired off an Energy Ball or a Dazzling Gleam to get some more damage off. But regardless, another big turn of this match was obviously Steve missing the play rough. Obviously this hit would have been huge in the game. Don't know how much it would have changed the overall ending of the battle, but was definitely a bit of unfortunate hacks for Battler X that definitely did cost him in the game.
And it did make the game a 6-0 win to Crimson. In the next game, we have the Tampa Bay Luxrays versus the Florida Gators. And one thing I specifically want to mention is, well, applauding Gators' use of momentum. Every time Kamala and Whimsicott was in, they basically clicked U-turn, gaining him momentum. Even though Mono was making switches and wasn't really costing from them that much, he was able to make offensive switches, which aided him in the long run.
One big thing, though, that was a huge factor in this game on the Tampa Bay Luxray side was Choice Specs Greninja. This thing put in so much work. It punched through all of Gator's walls and just gave a ton of momentum to Mono on his side and led to his eventual victory.
In the next game, we have the San Jose Sharpedos versus the Ole Ola Athletic. And one thing that I want to mention is, well, it directly goes out to Tom. In his team builder and in his battle, he mentioned that the Gardevoir set that he brought was either going to have one of 2 moves, Carmine or Will-O-Wisp. And in his team builder, he sort of explained that he wanted Carmine because it can set up on this, this, and this. And he didn't really explain why he didn't want to bring Will-O-Wisp. So personally, I want to know why he didn't. So Tom, if you can let us know, that would be very, fantastic. As in a lot of situations when Gardevoir was in the game, if it clicked Will-O-Wisp, for example, against the Tyranitar or against the Excadrill, it could have aided him very much in the long run.
Now, this isn't really like this is a very pivotal moment, I think, but for maybe different reasons than what you expect. So one of the big factors of this entire game was that it went to timeout. Now, both players were very adamant that if time kept going, if they had more time, both of them would have won, and it is a bit of a point of controversy. Like, I myself and like Bill are saying we can't say for sure who would have won this game, because the plays would have been very unpredictable, so many variables, but it's definitely a big pivotal moment that this game was sent to timer stall, because it didn't really give us a clear-cut answer as to who truly would have won the game. But maybe down in the comments below, if you feel like there was a certain player that should have won, let us know.
For sure, give us your speculation on who you think would have won. In the next game, we have the San Diego Chimchargers versus the San Francisco Giants. And one thing I want to mention is actually a little comment from Gio right at the start of the game. he was a bit shocked that Envy brought Virizion, and at the start of the game he said, you know, this is okay, I've got a few checks to it. And as I looked over his team, I didn't really see many at all. He had Bronzong, which he proceeded to sack about turn 2 or 3, and he had an offensive check in Gengar, which was basically shut down by any version of Alolan Muck. So I think Geo went in a bit overconfident with, you know, regarding to the Virizion, and it did turn out to be Envy's win con, so Envy was able to do a lot of work with that at the end of the game.
One big thing that Envy did, though, that was very solid for him, again, I think it's a mistake that a lot of players are doing. It's happened 2 weeks in a row. The lesson of today is just don't bring Trick Room against Envy, because once again, Envy had the Muck, which is a pretty solid Trick Room counter for a lot of Mons because of its such like low speed, and it was able to just play around the Trick Room really easily. Envy knows like how to deal with Trick Room. He played around it really well, was able to stall it out, but then also the fact that he had the Alolan Muck meant that he could pressure Geo's team in Trick Room as well, so it was kind of maybe a bad idea on Geo's part because of Envy's ability to obviously, especially after last week, knowing that Envy can play around Trick Room well, and then also just show Envy proving it yet again, like his ability to be able to stall it out.
One thing I do want to mention on the Trick Room part is, if you do want to bring Trick Room in this sort of format, personally I think going full Trick Room is sort of a bad scenario, because if your opponent is able to stop that, then your whole win con is gone. If you go sort of semi-Trick Room, or half Trick Room, or a few Trick Room Mons, or just one Trick Room user, and then Mons that can use Trick Room but aren't specifically Trick Room Mons, I think it can definitely be a bit better.
On to the next match, though, and we have the match between the Philadelphia Sizzles and the Brochure Donphan. This is a really close game, and the big plays came in the last couple of turns. So, Chimp did kind of explain this in his video, but it is something important to kind of point out. When he had a Zoom Rule in against the Magearna, it could live any one hit from Magearna, and Chimp did have the Dougie in the back. So his best play was to click Knockoff, which he didn't do in the game, but the reason why Knockoff was the best play in that situation was because if the Magearna had a Choice Scarf, it got rid of it, which meant that Dougie could outspeed. I believe Dougie would have outspeed, but basically also would have got rid of a Sugar Berry, meaning that no matter what happened, Dougie was going to be able to revenge the Magearna at that point, and it also would have allowed Chimp to see maybe if there was a potential Z move and whatnot, so it was just a much better scouting move than going for the Waterfall, and fortunately for Chimp though, the Dougie was able to outspeed Magearna and he was able to wrap up the game.
So again, the other point we want to mention as a pivotal moment is Lars was speed creeping his fastest Mon, which he expected Chimp to do in return, and the Dugtrio did end up being max speed Jolly, so Magearna didn't outspeed, and so I guess it was sort of lucky that Chimp won, but in the same, it was like sort of a misplay or misprep on both players' part, which ended up with the win for Chimp.
Moving on to our next game, we have the match between the New Orleans Pelipers and the Utah Jasmine. One big thing on John's part was the fact that his Milotic was able to get 3 out of 3 burns with Scald. Now, obviously, it's very frustrating there for Coop. It's part of the game, but we felt this was very pivotal because obviously Burn, even though the damage is nerfed, the effects of Burn are still very crippling to teams.
The other points we want to mention for that game is, well, personally, I want to mention Coop's fantastic use of Trick Room. He went in there saying, you know, I'm not going to win with Trick Room, but I have Trick Room there in case I needs it. He had the Reuniclus, which could do a lot of damage, and a Scrafty, which had Dragon Dance, but it also was slow enough so it could work in Trick Room. So I think that was a fantastic use of Trick Room. But I think the last 2 turns summed up very pivotal moments. For example, the Sneevils getting the flinch on the Scrafty and then being able to kill it the next turn, and then the Golbat living on, I think, 3 HP, winning the game for the Utah Jasmines was just a fantastic match to watch right at the end. Very climactic, and it was just fantastic, I think.
Yeah, and moving on to our final game of the week, we have the match between the St. Louis Rampardos and the Pittsburgh Piratas. Now, for me, I feel like there was a big factor in this game right at the death, which was the Slowking getting fully paralyzed. I think if it didn't get fully paralyzed, it was able to pretty much win the game there for Tup. Unfortunately, though, it's just a game. It happens. Hacks happens. But well, you do want to highlight this Slowking set because it was really solid in the matchup. The Iron Defense meant that it could take on things like Staraptor if it needed to, and other physical attackers on Dan's side. And with the special defense it already has, it means it can deal with things like, you know, Victini, Terrakion, other Mons really solidly. So that was fantastic prep on Tup's part.
On the other side of the match, we just want to mention, Dan's, he looks like he's finally getting to the swing of things after a rough start to the season. It could be said that he should have lost the game due to RNG, but again, that's all speculation. There may have been changes in the game, but, it's good to see that Dan's finally picking up some wins. Hopefully Top can pick up some wins in the next few weeks.
That's going to do it for this week's Pivotal Moments. So again, make sure you go check out the doc in the link below to go give your opinions on who you felt were the most pivotal moments this week. But so last week's winner was the Muck being able to obviously beat the Trick Room team and wear it down. And that is going to be going up against the current reigning champion, which is Bill.
It is the Raw Druddigon and Raw Tyranitar used exceptionally well by Hoodlums Crafty, coach of the Ole Ola Athletic, against Steve, coach of the Milwaukee Swordsbucks. So 2 fantastic bits of play and prep. So again, in the link in the description, follow the form and you can vote for which you think is the best. And make sure to vote for this week as well. And if you think we've missed any plays, let us know in the comments section below.
Don't forget also to like this video, subscribe to the GBA channel, also go check out every single one of the coaches. They all do amazing content, but that's going to do it for us.
Including the new coach, NecroStevo. If you don't know what's happened, Cooper of the Utah Jazz has have to leave the GBA, and new coach has taken over. So if you want to check him out, if you're not subbed to him, go check him out specifically.
But that is going to do it for us, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. I'm Verd, that's Bill, and we're out of here.
Adios.